Hi everyone, my name is Dinesh Goyal and I'm here from Property for Financial Freedom. Here we provide one-on-one mentorship to buy properties in a growth area where data stacks, and I'm operating as a buyer agent as well. Today I have Daniel Bolger on this call. He is an experienced investor. He bought multiple properties for himself and now he's helping his family and friends to buy properties in a growth areas as well. So today's agenda is, we're gonna discuss about why your first property is very, very important, uh, why you should start your journey to achieve your financial freedom. Hey, Daniel. Hi, how are you?
Yep, great, Dinesh. And yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks. If
Thanks
you
for
could,
having me on the show.
nah, that's awesome. Thanks for offering that, actually. Um, Daniel, just your little background, how you started, where you started, and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, well, basically started to get into property really the last sort of 12, 18 months. But yeah, sort of hit the ground running, I suppose. But I have to be upfront. We live in the house we live in now. So it's an owner-occupier house because I've got a family and stuff, and we wanted the nice house in the country and everything, which we got. And then we purchased two investment properties, one in Queensland and one in Victoria, and they're all the properties are doing really well. And then, yeah, my sister was overseas, so I helped her buy her first property. She's like 25, and that was also good, strong capital growth and also really strong rents as well. And then I helped my dad buy four properties as well, and basically he's going to retire in the first bit of next year as well through these properties, and also help my mum purchase a property as well. And that's sort of what led me to be a buyer's agent because there's just such a big gap, and I just see so much people making really bad decisions with their property journey. And I grew up in Melbourne my whole life. That's why we moved over here because the property market was a lot better here, I suppose, to buy. But in Melbourne and Sydney, Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast, and everything like that, great areas and everything, and I get it, beautiful place to live. But if you're trying to chase that property, like I've got friends in Melbourne that still haven't bought a property, and they might be 30 years old, and they've got a lot of money just sitting in the bank account. It's just sitting there. It's just getting chewed away with inflation. It's just sitting there and it's just doing absolutely nothing. And they won't listen. People are sort of set in their ways sometimes with, they want to buy the dream home because that's what they've been told to do. But they don't realize how dangerous it can be for their finances because, as we just said before, Dinesh, it might take them 10 years to buy that property. And then for the next 10 years after the purchase of the property, they're going to be in some, they're going to be making a lot of sacrifices just to hold one property when in actual fact, in that 10 years, 10 saving and maybe, 10 years time, they could have had multiple properties, putting money in their pocket. And there's just so much. We used that word before, Dinesh. Remember we were talking about it, and it's like flexibility. I think that's also a big reason because, let's say you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 investment properties, producing good cash flow and growth as well, but putting sort of cash in your pocket each week, it gives you more flexibility. So if you lose your job, all of a sudden you can maybe, if you've got enough money to pay 6, 12 months rent, you can do that. You can move in with family. You can rent a room off one of your mates, or it just gives you so much more flexibility, and it takes away a lot of that stress, I think. And
that's true.
And even times like now, like with the interest rates going up and everything like that, and I mean, how good a time to have cash flow properties.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm aligning with whatever your statement is. I really speak about it with my clients as well. So there's a concept of rent vesting. What do you think about the rent vesting? Should we go, like, I have a client, I had recently two clients. One of the clients, she lives in Melbourne. She is pretty young, right? So she had just $50,000-$60,000 savings. She was like, should I wait to buy my first property, or should I start my investment journey? We had a very good discussion, and we ended up buying for her a property in a Perth market. It's a positive cash flow property, growing. It's a very, very growing suburb. She's hitting a good goals there. Now she has plans to get the second or third property very soon from the equity, right? And other thing is, the beauty of that is she's still living in Melbourne CBD. She didn't had to go out of that, you know, just a flexibility. She's living just close to her job. Another client, that guy came from overseas like maybe a year ago, and again, same story. He just had 50, $60,000 with him, and he was saying like, I really want to start my property journey. So we bought a property in Tamworth, regional New South Wales. We bought a property for 340K. He spent, I think, $5,000-$10,000 on cosmetic renovations. Now that property last week valued for 390K, and he's getting like 40-50K equity out of that. And
Yep.
now he's engaging me again to buy his second IP. So to create a financial freedom, what's your thought about rent investing?
Absolutely, and let's be real about it as well. For some people, rent vesting might not, like, they might, they
Yeah,
might be married with kids, or
yeah,
they might be they might have a really job right in that area where they know they're going to be in that sort of job for 10, 20 years. But saying that, let's be real. For most people, I would say rent vesting is the better option, because
yeah,
you got to remember how much people are, nurses, police, firefighters, IT, engineers, all these professions that moving around for opportunities. So if you sort of think, oh, I'll buy my dream home in this location, that you're somewhat, you somewhat can be a bit stuck, because it can also help with that as well. If you get career opportunities in different
mm,
states, you might meet a woman or man, and you might want to move to a certain area or whatever. If you've
yeah,
got investment properties just that are growing in value, giving you cash, putting money in your pocket, it just gives that freedom, gives that flexibility, and I think it gets you there quicker, because also you can also borrow more. I think people don't really understand that
yeah,
aspect of it. You can borrow more because the banks, it's less risk for the banks to
yeah,
than someone buying their owner occupier. And then also just the money, like, you can, the tax benefits on having investment properties compared to an owner occupier. Like you said before, that client spent $10,000 with cosmetic renovations, and obviously some people know, some people don't, but you can get a lot of that money back, right? And if you're doing that
mm,
on your owner occupier, you ain't getting a dollar
yeah,
back. So
yeah, yeah,
everything's out of pocket. Whereas if it's
yeah,
investment properties, you're getting that stuff back, and it's
yeah,
just there's just so
yeah,
many positives, I think, that
yeah.
outweigh.
Yeah, so generally speaking, you get your tax benefits, you get the depreciation, any maintenance you're doing to the property, you're getting that back in tax somehow. You know, the only cons I can say is, I'm from the community where like a lot of people say, you really need your owner occupied, you need your own house before you started buying your property. So that's kind of taboo, you have to go out of that to create your financial freedom. If you are really stuck, the properties you really want to buy is at the $1 million or $2 million or $1.5 million, rather than just spending time to save your deposit for that property. I would suggest start your journey somewhere. You have a flexibility down the line, like after 5-10 years, rather than just waiting for your deposit to grow, wait for your property to grow, right?
Absolutely.
Like
And
you
also, you're never going to be like, sorry, Dinesh, but
Yeah,
something that I think people don't understand is, it's like they think that, if they buy one, two, three, four, five properties, they're never going to be able to get that home there. But in actual
yeah,
fact, it can get them there quicker, because say in 10 years time, you know, they've, they've purchased five, six properties. They could sell one
yeah,
property one tax period, and then maybe the next tax time, in case they want more cash, they could sell two, and they might have three, four, five properties
yeah,
still giving them positive cash, and now they're in their dream home with properties that are actually giving them money to help with
mm,
their PPOR repayments. It's a, it can be a
yeah,
no-brainer, but I think it's almost like that sort of thing that people, I guess, that whole thing of maybe reading a book like The Barefoot Investor and just buying a
yeah,
property and paying it down, investing in
yeah,
S&P 500s, and that's just a long game. If you want to
yeah,
retire earlier, seriously, and you want to
yeah,
actually be free from the government and free from
yeah,
having to rely on the government changing their
mm,
pensions and all that, property is the way.
yeah, definitely. Another point I want to touch is, you're leveraging others' money. You're getting a loan, right? So, uh, by my story, I spent like when I bought my property, my first IP. I put like 50 or $60,000 as a deposit, right? I bought a house for 380K, which is now around 460. So it's gone up like 80K, right? If I reduce some expenses, basically I have doubled my money, 60,000 to 120. We just see, okay, property grown 10%. But when you see actually your deposit is actual money you are putting, and it's gone double in the value in like a year, less than a year time. Yeah. So that's beauty of, investing in a property.
Oh,
It is
leverage is
it
great.
yeah, it can be a risky move as well, because if it's gone down, the capital is going down as well. But like every investment comes with a risk, right? Every
That's
investment. But
that's
I
why it's
think,
so important,
yeah,
isn't it, to get the right
yeah,
investment?
yeah. So you have to be, educate yourself, pick the right pocket, pick the right asset, which can definitely grow. But the history of property investing in last, if you pick a data of 50 years or something, because of the inflation and everything, property gonna grow anyway 6 to 7%. It doesn't matter where you buy. If you have a long-term goal, you definitely gonna get a lot of benefit, in a property investing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah,
I look at, like, I've purchased for myself and my family about 10 properties, right?
yeah,
And and probably half of them were at the, so to speak, the peak of this sort of cycle. But all of those properties have actually increased in price. Like, people,
yeah,
it's this myth, because people watch the channels, the Channel 7 News, and they sort of, oh yeah, the property market. But yeah,
yeah,
obviously Melbourne and Sydney and some other markets are decreasing a bit, but there's still a lot of markets out there in Australia that are just
yeah,
hot. All you need to
yeah,
do is, if you don't believe us, like, pick up the phone in a
yeah,
Perth or a,
yeah,
regional Queensland, and pick up the
yeah,
phone and just ask an agent what's going on, and they'll tell you. They
yeah,
might not even answer their phone; they're that
yeah,
busy.
yeah. I'm
So,
in the market at the moment, you know, buying properties for my clients. In some markets, property are getting snapped in a day or two. And
mm, mm,
it's super hot. We don't
yep,
see, don't only see Melbourne, Sydney, or Brisbane is already now going little down. But there are a lot of markets, as you said, regional Queensland, or Perth, or somehow regional New South Wales, or regional Victoria's. There are a lot of markets which still can give you somehow neutral to positive cash flow. You know, g- lining all the data for the growth, great properties. Yeah. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. One, Dinesh, I remember, this is when I first purchased my property in regional Queensland last year, right? It was
yeah,
I can't ever forget this. It was the first agent I called, right? First agent I called to make to inquire about a property, and
yeah,
he more or less just said, there's he was just speechless. And I said, "You're right, mate." And he goes, "Mate, I've never experienced such a hot market. Like, I get 20 calls an hour, and not even asking about what's going on with the property, putting in offers for the property, 20
yeah,
people an hour." And he was just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
couldn't be more busy.
yeah,
So it's obviously not all market, but there's still a lot of market.
yeah,
And I found, Dinesh, if you could just find a way to buy a property in one of those hot markets, and just, by the time the bloody thing settles, it's already
yeah,
gone up a lot of money,
yeah,
like tens of thousands
yeah,
of dollars,
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
like a lot of money, just from, it's like, I heard this once off a very experienced investor that I know, and he said, it's always to get it on the back of a tail end. If
yeah,
you can get, even at the start, or if you're fighting against the wind, it makes it so much harder. But if you're going with the wind, that's when you can make tens, 20, tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars eventually.
yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, it's just it's really good.
Yeah,
And I think
it's
one thing as well, Dinesh, about the leverage thing is, how you're talking about that, because that's a very important point as well. Because
yep,
it's like, yeah, I was talking to a friend who's, he's got a lot of money saved because he's trying to buy this house, this really nice house in Melbourne, so to speak. And I just sort of joke around and said, like, if it wasn't for people like you, like, I wouldn't have any properties, because as soon as they give the bank, as soon as they keep sitting money in the bank, that's where the money go. It goes.
yeah,
The bank just lends it out to investors and stuff. So,
yeah,
um, but some people, I guess, don't have the stomach for it, I think. But
yeah,
they also think it's going to be real complex than what it is. Like, they go,
yeah,
"Oh, I don't want to deal with all that stress." But there's a lot
yeah,
of things you can implement
yeah,
to make it a whole lot less
yeah,
stressful. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's the thing. Every single person have their risk appetite, right? If you can't sleep with that much debt, don't go that path. If you know that you have invested in the right pockets and your money gonna grow, it's gonna be a key for your financial freedom, definitely go that path. So it's all about risk appetite, what gives you more satisfaction is the key here. Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah.
Totally. And also, but saying that about risk, like, let's be real, it's more risky to keep your money in the bank, and it's more risky to buy this, this dream home that you can't afford, and you're paying
Yeah.
$1,000 a week, and you're eating tuna cans and 2-minute noodles because you don't have any money, and you're thinking, what if I?
Yeah.
And you have to get a second, third job just to pay the thing off. When you,
Yeah.
it's just, I think if you can reduce some of that, I think you can actually reduce stress in your life by buying in good quality investment properties, because it just gives you more options. And then it also helps you sort of see what sort of future you want for yourself in 10, 15, 20 years, what kind of life you want for you and your family. So
True.
I just, I think it's good as well. And I got a mate as well. He's got some properties, and he's actually lives in some of them. Like he rent-vests a little bit, but now that it's hard to get a rental, he'll just go and live in some of his properties that are maybe the rents aren't as high, and he'll just go live there and work from there for a bit. And he uses it as a bit of a vacation, so he actually quite enjoys the process of that.
Yeah.
So
to add here, like I have a property in Cairns, right? I visited that place. I just love the Cairns city. A little bit humid, but it's just beautiful, right? So my plan is down the line, I might convert that property into short-term rental, like a Airbnb, and just go there for 4 weeks or 3-4 weeks and work from there. And you can you can be that flexible when you buy properties in different regions, and it's a you can say very good feeling when you go in a tourist town or somewhere, and you living in your own property. It's a great feeling. So that's kind of sorry.
You'll go down to there. You'll go down to Cairns, Dinesh, and Nick. You'll go there on one holiday. Next minute, you won't come back to Melbourne. You'll be doing videos on the beach in Cairns because you'll love it that much. But it's funny, isn't it? When you have a look at some of these areas, like the Perths and these regional Queensland, and because obviously we're purchasing property and in these areas, you look at some of the you just see how beautiful some of these places are, and then you see the price tag attached to some of these houses near near amenities, near hospitals, near the main town or near the city, and you're just like, people in Melbourne and Sydney, they just don't realise how much opportunity there is out there. That's my own opinion, anyway. So.
Awesome.
But anyway, and then you talk about risk. Just one last thing, Dinesh, about risk. Like I had a friend call me the other day. He just said, "What should I do? I'm looking at buying an apartment close to the CBD." And he said, in his price bracket or whatever. And he said, "What's your advice?" And I just said, that is the biggest risk sort of property you can ever purchase. And once I explained, I knew this lady who she purchased a brand new sort of 2-bedroom apartment before the COVID, boom, and she got it revalued because she's looking at getting investment property, and the property's gone down in value significantly.
Oh yeah.
And what a setback that is, because she wanted to live near the CBD, live near where she worked, but she could have had, and the thing was getting built as well. She could have had 3 properties now gone up, in that time frame, $300,000-$400,000. I'm not even kidding. If she purchased the right properties, right? But now she's stuck with this just crap investment that's just gone down in value. The vacancy rates are high. There's strata fees. There's plumbing issues. There's a damp wall, and it's just. What an absolute talk about stress. That's a nightmare. That's a horror story, isn't it, Dinesh? When you hear that?
Yeah, true. So the thing is, how you can achieve your capital growth is basically you have to see the supply. In the city, like either Sydney or Melbourne, you'll see there's a lot of supply of those apartments and less demand. Events like COVID make it even more worse. So whenever you pick, you have to. I'm a big fan of freestanding house. I'm not fan of apartments, but you have to see the supply and demand ratio definitely before taking those kind of decisions. This investment can go very wrong as well if you are not considering everything. You are not doing your homework before buying the property.
There's so
So
much
yeah,
things that can go wrong,
yeah,
isn't there? Even when people, I think they go, "Oh, I've heard all these investors are, buying in this particular suburb, right?" And they might even have the state nailed. They might even have the suburb nailed, and
yeah,
people think I can just pick any house in this suburb and I'm going
yeah,
to make money. But they don't realize they can still They could be next door to two housing commission or neck behind,
yeah,
close to a.
yeah,
There's so many
yeah,
variables there where they could make the wrong choice, even
yeah,
given the right suburb. So
yeah,
there's so many layers to it, isn't it?
yeah. So on that topic, I had a inquiry from someone. He is going to be my client very soon, but what he says, like, he bought a property where I'm very much focused these days, right? He was super happy that I bought in that suburb. Okay, so let me have a look on what you have bought, right? So I went through a few checklists what I have created for myself. I first click, I find out the properties in a bushfire zone. Yeah, and he was little panic. I said nothing to panic, but thing is, when you buy a property, it's just not one thing you want to look. We don't really buy on a busy roads. We don't really buy in flood zone or bushfire zone. You definitely need an expert behind you to guide you, or you educate yourself. Basically, there's a lot of free stuff. You can go YouTube. You can try to educate yourself before making those kind of decisions, because they are very, very important decision to create your financial freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
just dealing with agents as well, Denise.
yeah,
People get trapped into all these little tricks and stuff like that, along with
yeah,
what the agents do. So even
yeah,
just that experienced head, and I think that person that's obviously looking out for your best interest, but also
yeah,
that they're not attached emotionally, because it's not,
yeah,
so they can just step back, look at the numbers, analyze the property, analyze the
yeah,
situation, give it a bit of time if
yeah,
needed, and actually pull the trigger and make the right purchase for that particular person. So
yeah,
there's definitely value in having someone that's got your back, and that's
yeah,
got your best interests at heart. So anyway,
yeah.
Dinesh, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's really
It
enjoyed it.
was
So
just awesome.
yeah,
Before wrapping up this call, I just want to take this disclaimer that none of this is financial advice. Please seek advice from professionals before making any decision. Um, please do your due diligence before making any decision. Yeah. So just to wrap up, Daniel Bolger, he's starting his buyer agency, Tucon buyer agent, very soon, and I will leave the details, myself and Daniel's detail, in the comment section or in the description of the video. Please reach out if you have any questions. We are happy to help.
thanks, Dinesh. Cheers. Thanks for
Thanks,
that.
Daniel. Thank
Have a
you
good
very
night, bro.
much.
See you
Yeah.
later.
See ya.